In today's episode, I'm sharing some incredible DIY decor hacks using Dollar Tree supplies. I hope you enjoy. For the first project, I'm using one of the wooden eggs as well as one of the wooden bunnies from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use my hairdryer to heat up that label and then use like a scraper, just a plastic scraper, to easily peel that off. Then I'm going to take some watered down antique wax and I'm going to paint the outside edges of the egg as well as the wood portion. I love these new signs they have. One side has like a wood grain to it, so I'm going to stain that, but we're going to cover the back side, so this can be a two-sided piece. And this is the difference in the color. The watered down antique wax just gives you a nice, beautiful stain-like color. I'm going to do the exact same thing for the bunny, and I'm going to set those to the side and let them completely dry. I'm going to use some distressed floral scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. It comes in this very large book and it has some beautiful designs in it. I picked two that I thought would go well together. I chose the faux wood look for the egg, so I'm going to make sure that I flip my scrapbook paper around and trace this on the back side of it, and then I can use my scissors to cut that out. Now, I did try to keep this as close as possible to the size of the egg. And then for the bunny, I want most of the distressed floral to be on the bunny, so I kept that in mind when I flipped my scrapbook paper over and traced the bunny out. This one I did cut a little bit larger than the bunny just so I can make sure that I have enough paper to cover it and we can sand that off later on. To attach the two, I have flipped both of my wood pieces over to the back side, and because my paper is pretty thick, I applied a very generous amount of Mod Podge, and I did apply a little bit too much, so I'm going to take some of that and apply it to the back side of the bunny. Then I could take my scrapbook paper and place that down on top of the Mod Podge and make sure that I really press all of those edges and the center and make sure everything's nice and flat. And then I can continue adding the Mod Podge and the paper to the bunny. Once the Mod Podge was dry, to really clean up those edges, I'm going to use my Gator sander. The key thing is to make sure you are going in one direction, and that is away from the paper. This is really going to give you those nice clean edges. For the bunny, it was a little bit trickier because some of those areas I could not get the Gator sander into, so I just folded up a piece of sandpaper to get in those really hard to reach areas. And then I made sure to wipe each of those off with a dry paper towel. So now you have a beautiful stained side and a beautiful paper covered side. Now we need to seal that paper in, so to do that I'm going to put a very thin layer of Mod Podge. The key thing to sealing your paper is to make sure that you don't saturate it. I'm just going to put a little bit on my brush, wipe a lot of it off on my paper plate, and just apply a very thin coat all the way over the paper on both of these pieces and allow that to completely dry. They're really pretty and you could stop there, but I wanted to add some burlap and lace ribbon to the egg to add some more texture and just a little bit more cuteness. I'm going to hot glue that to the very edge of one side of the egg. I'm going to start at the top and then I'll do that at the bottom on that one side. And then I'm going to pull it as tight as I can once that hot glue sets up right across the center, because I don't want any slack in the middle of the front. And then I can hot glue that side down. And then once your glue sets up, you can flip it over to the back side and cut your excess ribbon off flush with the egg. So it'll still be pretty even if you are showing the wood side. You'll just have a little piece of ribbon on the side, and then it's just really pretty on the front as well. Now I did not have any lace ribbon for the bunny, so I am just going to cut the threads that's holding the lace on this burlap so that I can use that piece of lace to tie around the bunny's neck, and I'm just going to double knot that And I could stop there, but I decided I kind of wanted the two pieces to coordinate, so I created just a very simple bow using some burlap trim from Dollar Tree. And then I'll trim that down, and I'm going to hot glue that right to the center of the lace. And it's still going to be cute. Even when you turn it around, you can see the little lace, and it looks really pretty with that wood design. Again, I had to add something extra, so I'm going to use some of these paper flowers from Hobby Lobby that I thought just looked really beautiful with this scrapbook paper, and I'm going to glue one in the center of the egg and one at the bunny's ears. For this project, I have printed out an outline of a bunny on 2 pieces of copy paper. This I have as a free printable on my website. I'll have the link to my website in my description box below, and I'll also pin it in the top comment. You can go over to my website, click on free printables, and you can download these as a PDF, print them out at home, and then you can use this same template to recreate this project. I only cut the outline of the bunny, not the tail. We don't need that part. I have this cloth placemat that I found at Dollar General maybe a year or two ago, and I've had it in my craft room. I did not have 2 of them, so I'm going to have to use either this black or white fabric from Dollar Tree, and at the time I wasn't sure which one I wanted to use. I'm going to have to use one of those as a backing since I only have one placemat. I'm going to place this on top of my heating mat and go over it with the iron to try to remove as many wrinkles as possible. And I did decide to go ahead and make the backing with the white fabric, so I ironed it as well. Then I removed my heating mat, so now I have this just on my silicone mat. I've placed down the white fabric. I'm going to place that cloth placemat on top of the white fabric. So if you have a design, you'll want the designs on the outside. So your bottom piece, the design will be on the table. Your top piece, the design will be facing you. Then we're going to take our template, and I'm rolling up pieces of painter's tape anywhere that I think that the paper might come up, and I've placed this on the back side of the template. I decided to put mine where the lines would go horizontally, and I'm going to press that firmly onto the placemat. Now another option is, if you didn't want to use the tape, you could use some straight pins to pin the 2 pieces of fabric together to be able to cut this out, but I just opted to go with the painter's tape. But because my bottom piece of fabric is a little bit thinner, once I cut some of the excess fabric away, I did decide to go ahead and remove the white fabric, and I'm going to cut these out separately. So I'm just going to cut that placemat out first, and then I can remove my template, set my placemat fabric to the side, place my template back onto the white fabric, and cut it out. Now I did cut the white fabric a little bit larger than the template just to make sure I had enough fabric. And don't worry, we're not going to do any sewing. I can only sew a straight line, so we're not going to be doing any type of sewing in this video. Now that both pieces of fabric have been cut, I'm going to lay them on top of each other, especially since I cut the white one a little bit larger. That way, once I line them up, I can hold them together, and any of the white part I can trim off, and they'll be exactly the same size. And then I flipped both of the pieces over. It's not necessary. You can glue it either way you want to. I just flipped mine over, made sure everything was nice and flat and even, and I'm going to use some fabric hot glue. And I'm going just along the very edge of that placemat. You'll want to do small sections at a time, and then press your backing fabric down. Press all the way around where you just put that glue, and let it set before you go to the next section. So with this bunny, I would just do right around the curves and then press that down, then move to the next section and continue to do that until I got to the other side of the bunny's face. So once you get right below the other side of the face, you'll want to stop. You see we have that big gap there at the bottom. You don't want to glue anymore yet, because we need to place some stuffing in the ears before we continue gluing the 2 pieces together. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get that stuffing all the way to the tip of the ears. I used a wooden dowel to help push that polyfill all the way through and then kind of manipulate it with your fingers to try to get it to that tip on the other side. And then I'm going to fill both of the ears and then all the way down to where I stopped with the fabric glue. I'm going to do another small section on that side as well as the bottom of the opposite foot. You don't want to close everything up because you want to be able to get all of the stuffing in there as much as you can before you close that final piece up. So once that glue sets, I'm going to stuff that foot all the way to the tip and then also place some stuffing in there through the side to kind of fill everything out. Then I can take some more of the fabric glue and kind of close up the opposite foot. And once I have that closed up, you'll leave a little bit of an opening at the bottom, so you'll be able to place the stuffing in that foot and you can get everything nice and full. You can take that final little piece at the very bottom and you can place your glue right along the very edge of the placemat and then push those two pieces together and let that glue cool down. Then I looked over it, and if I saw any of the white fabric sticking through from the back, I just trimmed that off, but made sure that I stayed on the outside of my fabric glue because you don't want to kind of break that up and then it come apart. And then using some burlap trim ribbon from Dollar Tree, I'm just going to tie a very simple bow around the neck off to the side and trim that down. But before I show you the final reveal, I wanted to make something really cute to go along with this bunny. So I created another template, this time in the shape of a carrot. This too is also a free printable on my website. Again, the link to that's in my description box below. And I found the most beautiful fabric at Dollar Tree to create this carrot with. And just like with the other fabric, I'm going to place this on my heating mat and use my mini iron to get all those wrinkles out. This mini iron comes in so handy in my craft room, and if you're interested in one of those, I do have this listed in my Amazon store. The link to that's in my description box below. I'm going to fold the fabric in half, making sure that the backing's in the middle, the designs are on the outside. Then I'm going to take that carrot template, flip it over, and roll pieces of painter's tape up to place on the back just like we did with the bunny. Press that down, and I can actually cut both pieces of fabric this time at the same time because this fabric is pretty thin. It's not as thick as that placemat was. Once I remove the template, again, I'm going to make sure that the fabric pieces are flat. Then I can use that fabric glue to go right along the very edge and seal these two pieces together. I'll be able to glue this almost 3/4 of the way before I start placing the stuffing. I want to be able to make sure I get it all the way to the end, and because this doesn't have all those intricate designs like the bunny did, you'll be able to glue those two pieces together majority of the way, just leaving an opening at the top. And because the way I designed the template at the top, you'll be able to glue that one section, fill that up, and then on the other side you'll be able to glue that same section and fill that side up, but still leave that little opening at the very top where those two pieces are. We're not going to glue that together, so it's going to look something like this. I have 2 stems of greenery that came off of a bundle from Hobby Lobby, but Dollar Tree has some really pretty greenery too you could use for this. I'm going to take a piece of twine and double knot them where the 2 stems overlap at the bottom. Then I'll take some of that twine and twist it around to make a nice thick base where the stems are, and then I can hot glue that, cut the excess twine off, and then we can use the base with the wrapped twine to put in the top of our carrot. Now once you put it in there, you're going to want to take some stuffing and fill that in the front and the back to make sure it's nice and full around where that greenery is. And then I just use that wooden dowel to help me put the stuffing in there. Using the fabric glue, I can glue those 2 pieces of fabric together as well as to the greenery stems. And once that cools down, I'm going to take a piece of twine and just tie a very simple bow right around the top. This is also going to help hold that greenery in place. Then I can trim the excess twine off, and this cute little carrot is finished, and I think it's so pretty along with the bunny. For this project, I'm using a wood oval plaque that you can find at Dollar Tree. They tend to be very rough, especially right there where that outer rim is. So I'm going to go over this with some sandpaper to get it as smooth as possible. Once I wipe that down, I'm going to take some leftover scrapbook paper, set that on the top of the plaque, and then using my finger or fingernail, I'm going to go around and create an indentation on that top oval of the plaque so that when I flip my scrapbook paper over, I'll see exactly where I need to cut it. I am going to cut it on the outside of that indentation just to make sure that I have enough scrapbook paper to cover the top piece of that plaque. Then I'm going to set that to the side because I want to stain this piece using some watered down antique wax. I'm just going to do that on the rim as well as the bottom. I just love this color, but you feel free to paint yours whatever color you desire. And then set it to the side and let it dry. To attach the scrapbook paper, I'm using some Mod Podge, and because my paper is fairly thick, I am going to add a really good layer of that Mod Podge, spreading it all the way to the edges. Then I can place my scrapbook piece of paper down and press that firmly all the way around to make sure that it is completely flat, and let that Mod Podge dry. To remove the excess paper from the edges, I'm going to use my Gator sander and go in one direction. As I'm doing this, it is removing some of the stain on that outer rim, but I'm okay with that. I kind of like the way it looks. But if you don't like that distressed look, you may want to touch that back up with whatever stain or paint color you're using. I wiped mine clean, and then I'm going to add a thin layer of Mod Podge over top of the scrapbook paper to seal that and protect the paper, and I'll let that dry. I'm using a mini grapevine wreath, and you can find these in a package at Hobby Lobby. I'm also using some spring pipberry garland that I purchased from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to wrap that around the grapevine wreath, trying to keep those pipberries on the outside of the wreath. And since they have this garland twisted together, you can just separate some of those pieces, so it makes it easier for you to wrap it around the wreath. I chose the spring color because I kind of wanted the pipberries to be neutral, because I'm going to add a little bit more color later on. And this is how it's looking so far. I'm going to be using a glass candlestick from Dollar Tree, and once I remove that label, I used some glass cleaner to give this a really good cleaning because it was really dirty and dusty. Now I can take the bottom of the candle holder and feed that through the grapevine wreath, and it's just going to sit right on top of that glass. I'll be using a battery operated votive, and you can get that in a pack of 2 at Dollar Tree. Now I can set this on top of my plaque, and I'm also using this adorable bunny, and I cannot remember if I got this at Dollar General or Dollar Tree. I'm thinking it was Dollar General, so if you guys have one, let me know in the comments where it came from. I'm also using some metallic, beautiful pastel type colored eggs that I got from Hobby Lobby, placing that around the wreath as well as next to the bunny. I hope you enjoyed today's video and found tons of inspiration. If you have a favorite, let me know in the comments section down below, because I always love to know which one is your favorite. If you haven't subscribed already, I would love for you to click that subscribe button right below the video. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please take care, and I'll see you guys next time.